My name is Tracy Wishon. I'm the career advisor for the Master of Business Analytics program. I have been with the program for now 5 years and focus primarily with this program. So I have a wealth of knowledge and experience and, available. Oh, I apologize. I just want to make sure. Oh, I'm the spotlight of the video. Lovely. Thank you for that, Catherine. So I wanted to share with you first off, and I'm sure many of you are interested in this, about the job search timeline and the resources coming from the Career Development Office. So this program, as you know, is a 12-month program. It's very much different than many other programs that you might be looking at as well. Given that it is 12 months, it starts at the end of August and it ends at the end of August. So therefore, you would not be starting your new opportunity until September or October of 2025. So that's very different than many other programs that you might be seeing at this moment in time. So I wanted to walk you through that. And because of that 12-month timeline, it shifts your job seeking as well. And we very much focus primarily in the fall on our capstone experience. And then in the spring, we focus on, full-time experience seeking. So I'll talk through that a little bit here on this calendar itself. So when you join, we're excited to, of course, welcome you in the summer, and of course you would be alerting your network at that moment in time. You'll be finishing up your internship because of course that's very much that experience is very much needed and welcomed. And then of course you'll be starting at the end of August, as I mentioned already. We do have this wonderful overlap with our current class, the class of 2024, that will be happening as well during that week or so period. You'd be able to see the capstone showcase, hopefully, if you come early enough. So you'll see what you'll be doing in the future, as well as potentially graduation as well. So really having the opportunity to interact with our alumni early on, or soon to be alumni. So then in the fall, you'll be focusing on your 5 PhD level classes. You will also work with me during your career core as well in the fall. We have a few classes, and I will say a few only because I want to highlight that during that time frame, you will not be interviewing. You will be focusing on your classes and building a strong foundation in data science to be able to speak about those later in the spring and into the summer when you are actually interviewing at that moment in time. So that is very different than many other opportunities, and of course undergrad as well, where you might have interviewed in the fall and then of course started at the end, at the beginning of June or whatever it might be. You will not actually be able to start until September. So it does change that timeline. So I want to highlight that a lot during this conversation. Then in addition to that, you'll be working, maybe joining clubs and really, building out your experience in that area. We have a wealth of clubs. We have over 90 clubs where you can join from a professional development standpoint. So if you're interested in product management, for instance, or maybe a VC or whatever it might be, you can join those types of clubs. Or you can go all the way onto the fun side of clubs, which if you like to dance, there's something called movers and shakers. If you like to sing, there's some Rolling Sloans. But the focus of clubs really, not only is it to, build out your experience, but also to get to know others within the Sloan ecosystem and build out those natural networking opportunities from a more, authentic experience and just having that networking opportunity. So I've heard in the fall that many students describe the fall as a marathon. Because if you've ever, ran a marathon or known anything about a marathon, it is a long, a long endurance run where you're going to need that endurance throughout because, of course, there's 5 PhD level classes, and some of you might be interested in research assistantship as well, and maybe an elective if you'd like to take that if you're not doing a research assistantship. So that is very much focused on building that foundation. Flipping over to the winter, you're going to have a winter break. You're going to need to relax. You're going to want to, maybe share with your network as to what your fall experience was. And then you're coming back with us in early January and spending the month with me, really, working on career core, working on building out your professional presence and interview skills as well to really prep you for your capstone interviews. Something unique about our program here as well is that you will be interviewing in pairs for your capstone experience, because you'll be working with a partner throughout that entire 7-month project as well. So that's unique to our program. But, in the real world, when you are, working as a data scientist, you will always be working on a project with others. And so this is just really going to set you up to be successful in the future, in addition to working with a company as well. And we have longstanding capstone partners. You'll have 40 projects that you'll get to pick from and that you'll interview with potentially as well. And the difference also is that we provide those opportunities for you. You are not seeking an internship opportunity. We are providing those capstone companies that want to work with you and they're excited about, working with our students as well, and have really engaging projects. Then flipping over into the spring, the Analytics Career Night is the kickoff to seeking for our students, and that happens at the beginning of March every year. And that opportunity actually is going to be run by someone in the class in support of me and the rest of the program office. We do, help out as well, and of course are very much in partnership with that individual. But it's much more of a networking night than it is, a traditional career fair, because we really value that networking conversation. We bring back alumni as well. It's also an alumni event, so you get the opportunity to meet with alumni from the MBAn program, because our alumni love to come back. They love to be capstone partners. They love to share advice as well. So we very much value their input and bringing them back on campus and having the opportunity for our current students to get to know them as well. And then in the spring, as I mentioned, it's definitely focused more on the full-time job search. So my spring career course actually baked into the capstone class, and I, co-teach that with Jordan Levine and Michelle Lee as well, because we value that so much in this program, that we add that into your coursework for you. We also have the data science track that happens in June as well. I'm sorry, not June, I apologize, in March as well. And we have been going to New York because that has been the location in which the #1 location that our students want to live after the program. And so we value our alumni in that area. We bring them back. You get to meet with over 20 companies in a 2-day period, which, yes, that's a very busy day. In addition, or busy 2 days, in addition to having networking events and alumni events as well during that time frame. So again, a lot of that, collaboration with our alumni. And then you also in the spring will be working on your capstone experience. So as I mentioned, you'll be working 10 to 15 hours a week with your partner in your capstone company during the spring semester. In addition to networking, and some will be recruiting at that moment in time, and others will want to wait a little longer into that summer experience. When you flip over into the summer, we call it a capstone experience. It's very similar to an internship where you are working 10 weeks full-time during the summer. You will also be actively recruiting at that moment in time. I also run a job search strategy group because, I find that, sometimes the interview process can be isolating. And so I find that it's much better. And I've found over the course of years that it is, we're stronger together. So we build out that group support for one another during that time frame. And then all the way into the fall too, if necessary. And then you graduate at the end of August. I do want to highlight too that as I've been here, I have seen the job search timeline shift, and the value that employers place upon our students, and the value that our students bring are much more on that just-in-time recruiting process. So you're going to see, the interviewing pick up much more in that late spring into the summer and close to the graduation timeline as well. So, just to be mindful of that, because again, that job search timeline is definitely shifted than any other program that you might see as well. So wanted to highlight that. All right, so I've talked about Career Core. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. We do work on resume development in the fall, very specific to your capstone experience as well, because you want to highlight your prior work experience and the projects that you'll be working on in the spring, in that fall timeframe. You'll have 4 projects that you'll be working on in the spring. I'm sorry, in the fall. I'm in spring right now because I keep talking about our current students and future, but needless to say, in the fall timeframe, you work on a machine learning project, an optimization project, also an A-Lab project, and an Analytics Edge project. So those you get to choose. You also work with companies as well, or potential industries that you're interested in, and that's really going to help build out your resume to be more data science focused and areas of interest that you have as well. We also are going to leverage LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where all of our alumni are. That's where we have a very highly sought after group. It's the MBAn group that we, of course, hold the keys to. So only those current students and alumni of the MBAn program are invited to be a part of that group. It's a very active group. There are over 300 individuals on that group. So it's a small, tight-knit group as well, but we definitely leverage LinkedIn and how to leverage the networking within our small group of MBAn alumni, then our larger group of Sloanies, and then even larger into the MIT ecosystem as well, in addition to other professionals. Professional communication and presentation skills are a must for a data scientist, and a very strong data scientist, may I add. If you cannot, you can create the best model in the world, and I like to say this a lot, you can create the best model in the world, but if you cannot present or communicate as to why it's going to help from a business perspective, it doesn't matter. And it's not going to matter to anyone unless you can communicate that in a clear, effective way, and especially to non-technical speakers. So you're really going to hone in on those business skills and really understanding what the business needs are and taking that 50,000-foot view, but also from a technical standpoint, speaking non-technical language to really be able to articulate what it is that your model is going to do or the problem it's going to solve, which is really a skill set that you'll learn throughout time and working on those projects as well. But being closely, being so close to Sloan and being within the Sloan, School of Business is very much going to help you in that as well. So, of course, working on career research tools as well. So we have a lot of tools that we have available to you through the Career Development Office, working through effective but successful interview skills. So, working through informational interviewing and what the interview process actually looks like. As a former recruiter, I like to pull that veil back and share much more about what that's going to look like for all of you as well. And then also provide, best practices on behavioral interviewing and technical interviewing. We do a lot of mock interviews as well, a lot of behavioral interviews with myself and some colleagues. But then on the technical side of things, I talk the talk, but I do not walk the walk. So I bring back alumni to, do mock interviews for you and support you in that area as well. And again, that community of giving back is very strong within our program. We also talk about networking strategies, so really building a networked job search and what that is, and creating that foundation for you for the rest of your career rather than just at this moment in time. And I did want to highlight within the CDO, as a Sloanie, you have career services for life. So whether it's working with me or working with one of my colleagues on the alumni side of things, you have that for life, which is a wonderful asset for all of you, moving forward in your life and in your career. We also talk about career cover letters. As a former recruiter myself, I feel like it's a bit of a dying breed, but it's definitely necessary in a couple of areas. And, I'll talk about that and how to create a great cover letter as well. I really want to hone in on a job search strategy from an individual standpoint. I love working with individuals one-on-one. I love to understand what my students' motivations are and where they really want to go and how they can go about doing that and sharing, that strategy and working through that. So, really working from a one-on-one basis. Also sharing offer negotiation tips. It's my favorite aspect of the whole interview process. As a former recruiter, again, I like to pull back the veil and share a little bit more as to what's happening on the other side and how to be successful on that side of things. And also really understanding, what are you actually signing? What does it mean? What's an offer letter? It's not a contract, it's an agreement. It's different in the US if you're interested in seeking primarily in the US, or if you're interested in international. We have students that have sought international as well, so supporting you throughout that process. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of one-on-one advising throughout the year as well, and even more so in that late spring, the summer, and even into the fall, because I, definitely, still support all the way through that process as well. So I love to say, and we love to say at the Career Development Office, hashtag career everywhere. Here at Sloan, there's so many opportunities for you to interact with others, interact with individuals within industries you might be interested in, or practitioners that you might be interested in learning more about. So, as I mentioned in your academics, of course, there's your analytics lab and your analytics edge projects that you're working directly with a company, your capstone projects as well. We have longstanding capstone partners that want to come back and hire our students as well every year. And also the opportunities with faculty for your research as well. So some of you might be interested in that. And of course, it's a highly sought after opportunity to do a research assistantship with a professor as well, but that's a wonderful opportunity too. And then of course, when you think about the broader Sloan community, interacting with those fellow Sloanies, so the MFin program, the MBA, Sloan Fellows, and EMBAs. So really interacting with them maybe through clubs or through other classes that you might take. And then I mentioned the alumni groups. So not only just our MBANs, but the larger Sloan alumni, there's this thing that we call Sloanies helping Sloanies, and that's a real thing, and that definitely happens. And having that shared experience is something that's really going to be invaluable to you throughout your career. And then also, having employers coming in and recruiters coming in that we have longstanding relationships with. And then, of course, the MBAn program office. We are a small, tight-knit group. You will get to know all of us very well. And so they are also a wealth of knowledge within the career space. In addition to a lot of activities that we provide, as I mentioned, the data science track, if I can talk today, clubs, as I've already touched upon, and then conferences that you can volunteer for. The Sports Analytics Conference is a highly sought after conference to go to as a participant, but you get the opportunity to be a volunteer, and then you get to, of course, interact with companies that are there and speakers as well. You get to go for free if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to volunteer for that. And then I love to put the CDO at the bottom as your foundation to support you through all of this. As I mentioned with Career Corps, and I love small group sessions where, we're stronger together. I love to work with students in a group setting and small group settings to, share constructive feedback and learn constructive feedback as well, and how to give it and how to take it, because it's really important, and that's a life skill to have. In addition to that, personal advising that I mentioned with one-on-one advising, and then having sessions with practitioners coming in and speakers coming in to learn more about industries you might be interested in. And then, of course, some research tools that we have, as I've already mentioned. And this is one of my favorite slides. I love to share this. You have a wide spectrum of possibilities. This is where our alumni are. They're in all different industries, all different areas. And just, and this is specific to the MBANs, so our MBAn alumni, and where you can reach out to individuals and what companies that they're at to learn more about as well. And they're very much open to that and giving back as well. And so many of them, of course, are capstone companies as well, like Lineage and GM and many other, Macy's, for instance, as well. And then I did want to highlight some top industries as well. I apologize, there's something in the way here. But so first off, this data is from 2022. So we aren't able to share our 2023 data until we will release that in April. So you'll see that then. But 100% of our students received offers within 6 months of graduation. That is our reporting timeframe. And I feel confident that will be the same for this year as well. The average salary from the 2022 compensation had increased to 132. So I'm curious to see what that looks like, but I think it'll be around the same time, around the same average compensation for this 2023 class. And then top industries, which are pretty standard for us, tech and consulting, those two flip-flop, sometimes 1 and 2. And then finance and pharma, health and biotech, those two sometimes flip-flop as well. So this year finance was higher than than healthcare. However, like during the pandemic, for instance, the healthcare was number 3. And then, of course, the retail and consumer packaged goods is usually kind of hovering around that number 5 spot. And I did want to highlight sample job titles. As many of you are familiar, the data science industry, while it's somewhat new, is also nuanced. Every company values data differently. And not only do they value data differently, they value it within their company very differently as well. So therefore, there are no standard job descriptions, no standard job titles. It's all varied based on the company itself and how they value it. And that's where the network job search comes in, where you get to learn a lot more about it by speaking with someone within the team. But in addition to that, understanding, looking at job descriptions rather than titles necessarily, because titles are going to, shift over time, and every company is going to have a different title. For instance, like an AI research scientist, rather than maybe a data scientist, or maybe they call it a data analyst, or maybe an operations research scientist, or maybe that role sits more on the product side, on the product analyst side, or maybe it's on the software engineering side, but they call it a data scientist. So again, it's all going to vary, and that is where, reading the job description and working through that and understanding a little bit more and really what you want is going to be, helpful for you in finding that right opportunity. I did want to highlight, if you look at, the locations in the U.S. that our students have accepted, of course, that Northeast area, proximity to Cambridge, Boston and New York is where most of our students want to go. But of course, we do have, our secondary market is on the West Coast, so Seattle and San Francisco as well. So let's see here. I think that's what I have, but I'd love to answer questions. I think Catherine and Jen will, moderate for me, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment.
All right. Thank you all for sharing lots of questions. I just want to reemphasize what Catherine shared in the chat. So if you do have questions, you can add them to the Q&A. We're going to try to focus the questions more on career-related questions or program-related questions, and not so much on the admissions process, because we do have a number of other events that are more focused on that. So, let's see. One of the questions was, Tracy, thanks for hosting this. There are several different degrees that can help get you into consulting. Can you talk a little bit more about how MBAn can best position you for a role in consulting?
Yes, definitely. So a role in consulting, that's very vague, but I will say there's a data science, perspective from a consulting role that you might be interested in. So if you're interested in data science consulting, then of course, coming through this program is going to be much more helpful for you. So if you're interested in like a data science consultant, in fact, those titles vary as well. I've seen it as analytics analyst, or I've seen a data science consultant as well. But the skill set, of course, is really being able to understand what the problem really is, seeing it from a 50,000-foot view, but then also being able to understand it technically as well. So really understanding case interviews, and I support you through that process, and also being able to tackle the problem from a technical perspective, but then also being able to bring it back to the business problem at hand. And that is a skill set that you'll learn over the course of the year as well.
All right. Do you have any events where students will have the chance to meet with investors or investment management or VCs?
Oh, interesting. That's a good question. So someone that's interested in entrepreneurship, which we have some students that are interested in that as well. That's where we lean on our contacts within Sloan and with the greater MIT as well. Of course, there's the Martin Trust Center that is right next to the Operations Research Center. They actually share the same building. And of course, as Catherine mentioned, we of course have a very close relationship with the Operations Research Center as well. And then, we have a lot of our alumni that this year especially that have gone into the startup space. The startup world is very interested in our students. So there's that, in addition to some of our students starting their own startups. So bringing them back and maybe, explaining best practices that they've learned, and how you can share that. But then, of course, joining the club, the VC club, and understanding that a little bit more and leaning on those Sloan resources as well.
Okay, sounds good. Andrea is asking, can we kindly confirm the start date around the end of August? So yes, typically students are matriculating and planning to be set up for kind of fully engaged, fully immersing themselves by, I'd say, like, the third week of August. The date varies a little bit, but plan for mid-August. I'm wondering if there's any time for conversion opportunity from the capstone project. So, yeah, go ahead.
Do they mean like from a full-time, like from the working on their capstone project and then them extending an offer for
I would assume,
position?
I mean, I'm not sure, right? Maybe you can talk a little bit about how maybe, people have gone on to work full-time with a capstone.
Yeah, very much. So many of our students, that is a great question, number one, because a lot of our students love their capstone experience and they love interacting with them, and they love the project that they're working on and want to continue on that project. And that's just a matter of if the company has the ability to hire. And it is definitely a source of hire for our students. And it is increased every year because the capstone companies value what our students bring to them every year as well. And so it's on a case-by-case basis, but it definitely has happened and it will continue to happen. And what I also see oftentimes is that while students really enjoy their capstone experience, they have networked and they have stayed in touch with those capstone companies. And this oftentimes they're switching to work for a different capstone company. They aren't working for their current one. They decide, oh, I didn't get to work with Comcast, for instance. And I really loved Trace at Comcast and the team, but I didn't get to work with them. And they end up, working with them on a full-time opportunity. So that seems to happen more often than working directly with the capstone that they started with. And I did want to highlight too, if you're thinking about coming in from an orientation standpoint, always come in a little earlier, especially if you're, because you can see the capstone showcase, and that's really exciting and really wonderful to see what you will be working on in the year coming.
Yes. I see a few more questions about the capstone and how, students are matched and how we find the different sponsors. I'll just say we do have a whole other event lined up in the first week of November, I think, that will focus on the capstone. So please join us for that. Can you elaborate on a few different industries or sectors in which the capstone projects might end up giving students more work experience in?
Sure. So fintech, healthcare, consulting, tech. I mean, it kind of touches upon every industry as well. If you go back to our, you can go on to, I think it's even within the admissions page, there is our employment report, and you can go back and see all of the capstones as well to see them. But yes, it touches upon pretty much every manufacturing, all different industries, in all different areas that you would have the opportunity to get experience and an exposure in. But what I also will say is you also have 4 projects in the fall that you get to pick, and you get to pick the industries that you are interested in. And that's where I feel like a lot of our students will start to explore an industry that they might be interested in, and then say, oh, I want more experience in healthcare, or I want more experience on the finance side. I want to work for, like, for instance, JP Morgan was one of our capstone companies. I want to focus my experience with capstone or with JP Morgan, for instance.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. A question about average salary and how average salary or salary might vary based on previous internship or work experience.
Yes. So it depends on how the company will value the transferable skills that you have. So if you have 2 years of work experience and it's directly related to data science, for instance, and the company that you are interested in values that work experience, they might bring you in as a senior data scientist, which of course is going to have a higher compensation. Now, if in fact you're interested in consulting, for instance, consulting companies are notorious for bringing everyone in as an entry-level individual, and therefore they want you to learn the basis, and they want you to learn their theory, and they want you to learn how they do things, and then you might be promoted, faster because of your work experience or your business acumen experience, but you will be coming in as an entry level. and you might be promoted faster than others, but that's just the way they value it. So it's just, based on how the company values your transferable skills and what you bring to the table, that's going to support them versus support you.
How would you, there's another question kind of related to this. How would you advise someone if they don't have any internship experience, if they have more like academic experience coming in?
Yeah, we have that too. We have a lot of students that have research experience, which is wonderful. At this moment in time, it's October. You can look for an opportunity for a summer internship to really set you up to be successful in that, at least experiencing it and getting a little bit more work experience in the short term. I've definitely worked with students that don't have work experience or even internship experience. And that's where the capstone experience is going to really help a lot more for them as well. But definitely you have time now. I would suggest you explore those opportunities and explore an internship, because it's really about business acumen experience and really understanding not just the academics of a project or the academics of data science. It's actually how a company applies it and what they actually use and what is going to be valuable to them. And every company, as I mentioned, values it differently. So you want to understand that a little bit more, and you want to understand those, and explore those business acumen skills that you're going to need as well.
All right. Yes. Are there specific resources for someone who might be switching careers? Or there was another kind of question about this, like how would you help advise somebody who is making a switch?
Yeah, and we have a lot of those students. And in fact, we've worked with, I have a student now who is transitioning. They were in like industrial engineering, for instance, or structural engineering, and like moving over into the technical side, which that happens all the time, of course. I would say, working through what your transferable skills are that fall in line with the data science skill set as well. And so if you have previous work experience, like highlighting those transferable skills to the role in which you're excited about now. And that's where we tailor your resume to those roles in which you're excited about, and also pulling out those transferable skills to be a strong data scientist. And then, of course, working on those projects that's going to help you throughout the coming year as well.
Is going into product management a viable career path post MBAn?
It is, however, it is not as common. We do have a few every year that move in that direction. Oftentimes they're going to go on the product analyst side. Product management roles usually are 5 years of work experience, and some of our students have gone in that direction because they have more years of work experience. But then, of course, the transferable skills come involved as well, and that's where previous work experience or their transferable skills can really be highlighted at that point in time. But joining the product management club, and really focusing on it, and working through your business skills and owning that product side of things and your electives. And that's something I can work with you on as well, because we've definitely had students do that. Our students this year, it's just new for this current class that there is a product management certificate, that if that's something that is of interest to you, you can, really, hone in on those types of classes and get a product management certificate as well.
This is a tough one, but how has the program or the job landscape transitioned over the past 12 months with, the introduction of generative AI, ChatGPT, et cetera?
Yeah, that is a tough one. I will say that, as I mentioned earlier, every company values data differently. And of course, ChatGPT is a wonderful tool, but it is a tool. It is not a fix-all. And there's still the need for people and for soft skills and for decision making from a person, of course. So while it is a wonderful tool and a resource, just like Google, for instance, wonderful tool and resource, but it's not the only tool and resource. And your skill set and the people behind it and the decision making that comes behind it from a data science perspective is even more valued. So it's a great tool and a great resource. It's going to help you and maybe be a stronger data scientist, but it's not going to shift that. And there's still the value there as well. Maybe you can do things faster, which is wonderful, and be efficient, which we love the word optimization within this space, and then optimize your time more. But it'll be a good resource to support you as a data scientist.
There's a question about, is it possible to recruit for jobs that are not data science focused, that are more kind of general traditional management, or, are not, it says not specifically focused on data literacy?
Oh, data literacy. Well, I would question why you're interested in this program, first of all, number one. Number two, I would say maybe if we've had one student go in more onto a general consultant role rather than a data science role. But if you're an international student, I will say, because I work very closely with the International Student Office, your degree needs to be in line with the role in which that you are going in. Otherwise, your STEM OPT will not be approved. So you need all of those things to fall in line. But I'd be happy to work with you on that too. But I would then question your interest in this and how you want to parlay that experience and your data science experience to move over on that more business side, which we definitely have students that move on that business side. It's just a matter of articulating why, and that why behind it, the story behind it, is something that we'll work on as well.
There's a question about how often students are given the chance to interact with either local industry leaders or alumni.
I mean, our alumni are around all the time, in fact, always. I mean, they come back a lot, and we bring them back because we value their experience. In fact, we ask them like, hey, what classes were most valuable to you? What would you change? I ask them a lot, those types of things. We survey them a lot. But at the same time, we also bring them back for events, as I mentioned, I noticed over the last couple of years that our students kept coming back, our alumni kept coming back for the career fair, which is wonderful. And then we decided, let's just add an alumni event within it so that there's also networking that the current students can do with our alumni, and our alumni have a space as well. And so we've added that into it because they want to come back. They're here a lot. They come back for lunch often. We bring them in as panelists, as speakers, as industry experts. I have them come in during my career court as well. And oftentimes they're reaching out to us directly and saying, can I speak about this? I'm like, yes, you can. Come back. We love that.
How much do the electives that you choose play into a role when it comes to career opportunities?
I think you can focus your skill set. So for instance, if you're really excited about supply chain, you can take classes that are, area, like your electives more on that supply chain side of things. If you are interested in maybe wanting to be a machine learning engineer, which you are much more technical than on the business side of things, then yes, you can take classes in course 6 on the computer science side of things that are going to really, really, dive deep into that big data. So it is it can help you very much as well. So yeah, I mean, it definitely can play a big part into the area of interest that you have after you graduate.
Okay. There's a lot of questions here about the application process. We're just going to try to, focus our time on Tracy's expertise, which is around the career search and the career support processes. A little bit more, Tracy, for you about particular challenges that you might have seen international students face in trying to, set up a role. I assume that this would be an international student trying to work in the United States. It doesn't specifically state that, but that would be my guess.
Yep, definitely. Well, this is a STEM degree, as you know, and so not only do you have 1 year of OPT, you then have that STEM extension as well. And so I have definitely worked with many students, international students. We have a wonderful international student office as well to support the students. Did you ask what was it challenging?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I just dismissed the question, but I think it was a question about how we support international students in finding a job here in the US.
Yeah, I mean, I international or U.S. citizen, it doesn't matter to me. I support them just the same. So, there might be a different timeline, of course. Some of those students, of course, feel much more pressure a little earlier, but I continue to try to, work with them about that giant elephant in the room that just keeps feeling like it's getting bigger. And I always say that to the students as well. But I promise that our students have, found opportunities within 6 months of being of graduating. But in addition to that, those students that are seeking and they have that timeline, working directly with them on their job search strategy and what is it that they want. And, again, very much the same.
Does the unique graduation timeline of MBAn have an impact on the recruiting process? I think you kind of touched on our process for this already, but.
Yeah, it does in a sense. I mean, it just means that the opportunities that are available to you might not necessarily be the same exact opportunity that's available in the fall, but there's still wonderful opportunities. Our students, as you saw, the wide spectrum of possibilities where our students, our alumni are currently working and where they've landed after the program. The thing that I notice more than ever is that because of the timeline, and you can, create your own timeline, you can kind of collapse space and time where you have multiple offers at the same time, and then you get to negotiate. Whereas those that I've seen in the fall and, working with another program in the past don't necessarily have that opportunity to negotiate as much because you don't necessarily have leverage of another opportunity. Mm-hmm. So it definitely is a very different experience. And what is great is that it's going to set you up to be successful on how you will interview in the future, because that's the way the world works.
Yep. What type of roles have you seen MBAn students going to in the finance industry?
So we have students, definitely the finance industry has grown, and the value, they see value in our students, of course. More on the data science side, I've seen some in the research scientist side as well. And then on the quant side, the quant's not, actually it's kind of grown a little bit this year. I think I have 2 or 3 students going on the quant side as well, but it's much more within the data science space of the finance world rather than going directly in the quant space, because quants usually kind of go more from the MFin program, but we have had students that have interest in finance and they're starting to work on finance projects, so they understand the language, because you do need to have at least knowledge of the industry beforehand. So working on projects that are going to set you up to be successful, to have that additional knowledge point will be helpful.
Right.
As well.
I think we'll get to maybe like 1 or 2 more questions. Are there students in the program who currently have more than 1 year of work experience? Yes, the answer to that is yes. And how does the program best add on to their skills and assist in their career development?
So that is on a case-by-case basis, because those individuals, for instance, I have one student who has 4 years of work experience at this moment in time. And what they want is very different than maybe what an entry-level person wants that's coming straight out of undergrad, because they don't understand, because the person coming out of undergrad has not worked yet. They don't understand how the world works, or the world of business works, or the industry that they might want. I will say my students that have work experience usually are on the much later side of their job searching, because they fall more in that just-in-time recruiting, because their transferable skills are more valued in maybe a senior role. And those senior roles are only available when they're needed. And so when they're needed, then they're hired, and it's a much different perspective. And those students are typically more choosy, because they know what they like and they know what they don't like. And that's part of exploring your career as well, as doing more of what you want and doing less of what you don't want. And sometimes that is a little bit of trial and error before you can figure that out. And those students have already done that trial and error. They already have that work experience, so they're much more honed in on, I want to start up. I've worked at a larger company. I want to work at a startup. Well, startups, they are much later, because again, startups have a need, and when they have a need, they want someone to start tomorrow, or maybe even yesterday, to support them. And so that is a much later process.
In your experience supporting MBAn students over the past few years, are there any companies that are always, ready to hire graduates? Like, what are the companies who have been continuously interested year over year in MBAn?
Yeah, we have a lot of longstanding partners. Comcast comes to mind immediately. They are a capstone company, and a longstanding capstone company that comes back year over year. Our consulting companies, apart from this current year, things have just a little have been a little turned upside down over this last year that I could not have predicted, I'll be honest, but they year over year have hired our students and want to hire again as well. And they've indicated that to us. So I'm like, those are my main ones off the top of my head. C3AI, they hire our students a lot. It's like, so if you go back, you'll see a lot of the same companies, a lot of startups as well. If a company has been, started by one startup investor, and they might like our students and come back every year as well.